Hello everyone, Professor Philip Travis, and this week we're going to look at the origins of the Cold War, particularly the period in the 1940s and the 1950s, which is the period, of course, when the Cold War really emerges. We're going to look at how many modern crises are inherently linked to the development of the Cold War, like, for example, the concern over Taiwan today. We'll look at that directly in one of the recorded lectures this week. As always, I have my recorded lectures for you, and I strongly encourage you to watch these. Always watch these. So we'll be looking at the origins of modern crises in the world that exist today. We'll be looking at the development of atomic and nuclear weapons and how those weapons shape American society. We're going to look at the role that the Cold War plays in shaping American politics, American foreign policy, in shaping the nature of American democracy. It really is a fascinating subject, and it's actually my area of specialization as a scholar. I have written pretty significantly about the late Cold War. My first book and most of my articles and so forth relate to the Reagan administration and its policy in Central America with the Contras. Some of you might have heard of that, the Nicaraguan Contras, the Iran-Contra scandal. So most of my writing relates to the 1970s and 1980s, but my specialty is really, more broadly speaking, with the Cold War. So I really am excited for this week, and we'll be looking at this week, and we'll also be transitioning. We'll be looking at this next week as well, because next week we'll get into the 1960s. Now, that won't only be on the Cold War. We'll be looking at the Vietnam War, which, of course, emerges out of the Cold War and the American containment policy. We'll also be looking at how that shapes American society in the 1960s, from the sort of politics between the rise of modern conservatism, the sort of fracture that develops in American liberalism at the time. We'll be looking at civil rights, other activist movements, the anti-war movement, and so forth next week when we get to America in the 1960s. So be sure to follow in the readings and assignments area. I know that we've had a lot of assignments this week, only a discussion forum. No quiz this week. Watch the video lectures, participate in the discussion forum, and that's all for this week. So nothing, no test or quiz this week, and we'll have a paper due next week, but not this week. So the map you're looking at here actually conveys, sort of in a visual sense what happens with Europe after World War II and the development of the Cold War. What you're looking at, the numbers on that map, are actually troop numbers. So after World War II ends, Europe remains a militarized region. Americans, the United States, never thought that we would leave troops in Europe after World War II. But the fact of the Soviet occupation of Eastern Europe and its sort of divisions with the Western world on a number of items, and the development likewise of atomic weapons, these all play into a standoff that develops between the United States, its allies, and the Soviet Union and its allies. And this basically necessitated, from the views of the Soviets and of the United States, a continued sort of military alliance system in Europe. The red and the light pinkish colors all refer to countries that were part of the Soviet Union's Warsaw Pact. And the Warsaw Pact was a collection of Soviet and Eastern European alliances that was meant to counter the United States and Western Europe's alliance, Nato. And so the blue and the light blue and the purplish are all countries that are part of the United States' and the Western Europe's alliance system, Nato, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which today, in the 21st century, has expanded to include many of the countries that you see pictured here are today actually part of NATO today. Though, of course, in green, the country in green here, this is, of course, right here, Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia no longer exists today. This has been divided into some 6 different countries following the conflicts in the Balkan region in the 1990s. But when you look at this, and of course, this little blue dot that you see right here, that's Berlin. The city of Berlin remained itself a divided city, a microcosm for the division, the economic, political, and social division occurring in Europe as a whole. So if you look at this map of Europe and you see it divided like that, you can imagine the similar division occurring in the city of Berlin, which is at the heart, right in the middle, if you will, of East Germany. Half of it aligned with the Western Europe and the United States, the other half part of the communist world and the Soviet bloc. And of course, the city of Berlin became a very contentious point in the early Cold War. It was one of the items that many thinkers in the late 40s thought would be the place where a world war might break out. It was an area of absolute tremendous concern on the part of the United States, the British, and the Western allies in general. And as a result of this, it really became the Soviets' desire to sort of make it part of the occupied Soviet bloc, and the United States' insistence that these territories in the Soviet bloc shouldn't be occupied, and that it should remain independent, and they should be allowed to have free elections and so forth, meant that Berlin became a divided sort of microcosm of the development of the Cold War in Europe. And of course, it is there where you see the development of the Berlin Wall, stretching through the city of East and West Berlin, erected during the leadership of Nikita Khrushchev in 1960. The factoid for this week, I'm going to have us do another video this week from my travels. This was a little video that I created from my visit to Okinawa. And it connects very much through the Cold War in the 21st century, but also gives us a link and a look and some thought about the end of World War II in the Pacific. The Battle of Okinawa, which of course in 1945 was a critical battle in the Second World War, and a battle that factored significantly into the decision on the part of the United States to use the atomic bomb once it had it to defeat Japan in August of 1945. So watch the video below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those. Make your post in the extra credit discussion forum. I'm going to give you maybe 3 points because it's a long time for this week, so I'll give you extra points. A little long announcement, and the video is a little long too, so enjoy that, and I really look forward to hearing your thoughts, and I'll have everybody's test graded soon. Let's have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions.